Watch it just be rod knocked. Rod knocked. Rod knocked. What's up, guys? It's Patrick with Elevated Overland, and we're back. I know it's been a minute since you've seen me doing like a vlog style fixer up video about campers, but Sunrader needs attention. So if you guys are familiar, this is my 1983 Toyota Sunrader. Obviously did not come with triple bypasses on the front. So two-wheel drive, 4-cylinder, 4-speed originally. Right now, 4-wheel drive, supercharged 4-cylinder, 5-speed. Transmission is kind of angry. Engine is extremely angry. Interior is a little bit falling apart. So these are all things we're going to address, not today, but today we're going to get the engine replaced in this thing. Interior is still usable. Everything is still good back there. Good enough to live in for now. And we'll take this down for Thanksgiving, and it gives me a solid excuse to get this thing running and driving again, because it still isn't shared, and we have not been using it, which it hurts. It hurts when you got a home on wheels. So what we have here is my 1983 Toyota pickup. Now, if you want to fast forward to the Sunrader fixing, that'll be in just a minute. It's my 83 pickup. You may or may not have seen this yet. 22R, 5-speed, love this truck. It's like kind of SR5, it's kind of not. This thing is the next build on the channel. It's gonna be a quick one, 3RZ swap with a turbo. Kind of like a street truck, but a 4-wheel drive street truck. So that's the thing to look forward to next on the like short-term end of things. Long-term, we do have another camper or two planned for us. So those are gonna be really cool. But for now, let's just get this thing fixed up. I will give you guys updates on my Toyota Supra, on the 4th Gen 4Runner, and my new tow rig, the 07 Tundra, here very shortly. But for today, we're gonna focus on this. All right, first snag off of the shelf. She did pretty good, pretty good. All right, now let's take it outside and power wash this bad boy. So we got this engine cleaned up pretty good. There's a lot of spots we missed. We might hit them. We're kind of in a time crunch, so we're probably not going to care about it. But we're going to need this engine hoist to get the engine out of the Sunrader. So right now we pulled in a tire I have in the backyard. I've actually gotten rid of all my bad tires, so this is one of my wife's winter snow tires. Going to throw the engine on there, and then we'll get the Sunrader in here, pull the engine, and with the two engines right side by side, we'll go ahead, take the oil pan off the other one, because we need that for this one. And yeah, we need a lot of things off of the other engine, like the supercharger, the oil pan, all that, for this engine that we'll, you know, have over here. So let's go ahead, set this down, pull the Sunrader in, and start the disassembly. Old girl was stranded in Reno, Nevada for 3+ months, and now she's home. Supercharged, small pulley. We're gonna put a bigger pulley on, and we need to get that supercharger on that other engine, along with a lot of other accessories. So let's see how she sounds on startup. All right. She never loved cold starts. Yeah, she's idling really well. Also, Dave and Fred from Dirt Every Day signed this over at Overland Expo PNW. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Still hear the supercharger whine. So hopefully it doesn't die. It's not a happy ending. Also, power steering pulley, not okay. You hear that? You guys heard that? I heard that. I don't know if you guys can see that. That pulley is mad, so we need to fix that. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing yanked out of here. A lot of people ask why I put a 4-cylinder in here, and this is why. Ease of maintenance. I can have this thing stripped and ready to pull in just a few minutes, it feels like. It is more like 45 to an hour, but realistically, it is almost no time at all, and here we are just about done getting it ready to pull. We got the whole exhaust unbolted. It's ready to come off. The intake we don't have to take off before we pull it out. Got the entire wiring harness pulled back, and it's ready to just stay here while we pull the motor. Alternator's disconnected. We need to do some motor mounts, drain the coolant, starter and bell housing bolts. This thing's ready to yank out. So we'll have this thing out of here in no time. Like I said, all the cooling systems, so we just got to do the heater core hoses, radiator hoses, pull the radiator, pull the fan, make some room, pull the bell housing bolts, yank this motor out, and then we'll transfer everything over motor to motor. And when I was putting this blower together, one of these bolts, there's 2 studs in the top of this throttle body, and there's 2 bolts in the bottom. This rear bolt, I remember, I tightened it. I was going to torque spec. Before I got to torque spec, it almost felt like it was getting looser. So we're going to try and keep the throttle body on here and not pull it off, because I don't feel like dealing with that today. But if we have to deal with that, we will deal with it, and we'll just, smile about it. So let's go ahead and get this thing rusted out here. One of the last things we have to do here is get the radiator out of our way. Go ahead and pull the hoses off, take the bolts out of the radiator, get everything out of our way, and now we can get the radiator out of there no problem. Get the radiator out, and now we're messing with the power steering, and once we get the power steering out of the way, we're ready to go. So now we have everything disconnected: fuel, intake, exhaust, everything is ready to go. Bell housing, starter, all this stuff below is done. So all that's left is to get this thing yanked out of here. The blower feels pretty good. I don't remember what it felt like before, but it doesn't feel like there's a ton of resistance. So hopefully the blower's fine, and hopefully it's just the motor that's the issue. So we'll get this thing yanked out, get the new used engine sealed up, and we'll get this thing back installed and on the road. So now we actually get started pulling the motor out of the bay. We get the motor up, and we realize the hood's got to come off. Pull the hood off, and we get the motor the rest of the way out of the bay. Now that we have it out of the bay, we go ahead and get a tire under it, where we are going to transfer most of the parts to the other engine. But first, we have to pull the clutch off. Get the clutch off, and we start messing with the flywheel. Once we start getting the flywheel off, it does give us a little trouble, but it comes off without too much issue. And now we're going to go get the other engine, drag it over here, and also get it ready for the clutch. We want to do the rear main and the clutch before we, set it down on the tire, because it's going to be real hard to do that when it's on the tire. Something that I think is really important when doing clutch stuff is Loctite. You always want to use Loctite. I use blue. Some people use red. There's really no wrong way to do it, but you definitely want to use Loctite on all your flywheel bolts. And I also use Loctite on the actual clutch plate bolt itself. It's really easy to not have to worry about it this way. Alright, so we have both the motors here. We got the clutch on this one, so that's ready to go. We need to get the exhaust manifold off, get all the stuff from this, engine mounts, blower, all on this, and then when that's done, we'll have it ready to get in the truck. So let's go ahead and get this done and get it ready for the truck. So we waste no time getting all these parts transferred over to the new motor, getting the Supercharged ready to pull off, and then I remembered that I pulled the front main seal out of the new motor, and there is no front main seal in town, and we cannot get one this week, so we have no choice but to pull the oil pump housing itself off. When doing that, we stripped 2 of the Phillips screws that hold it on, so we ended up having to weld to that. Took a lot of time, but we got it done. We got the oil pump housing transferred over, which houses that front main seal, so we have a new oil pump housing, oil pump, and front main seal in the new motor. Get the oil pans off, get the oil pickups transferred over, because we have a rear sump pan in this, and once we get the oil pan on, we can go ahead and move over to the intake, get the intake off, and get it ready for that supercharger that we're oh so stoked about.
What if I dropped it?
Don't drop it.
Mine are on.
So now that we have the blower on, I'm going to go ahead and start putting the bolts on it, or the nuts. And once we get the nuts on it, I remember that I want to use a lot of blue Loctite, because 3 of the 5 nuts were very, very loose on the last engine, and I was not going to have that happen again. So then we move over to the exhaust manifold, start getting that unbolted, get one of them that just gives me some hell, so we get the big impact out, and it finally comes off. That thing was broken. There was a corner ear off of it that was busted, so we could not use it. And now we're getting our engine mounts on. These are our chill cat mounts. We get these from Off-Road Solutions. We also get that dipstick from Off-Road Solutions. They always hook it up and make sure we have everything we need for these swaps. Now we get the alternator belt on and tight, getting the alternator adjusted, and we're done. So now we have this at a point where it's officially ready to drop in the bay. But one thing I remembered, I wanted to do this before I forgot. I just realized I modified the wrong side. I'm such an idiot. Okay, now this thing is officially ready to go in the bay minus one thing, the fuel filter. So I was going to use the OEM one that was on there, but I was like, nah, bad idea. And of course, starts the rabbit hole. So I remembered that the fuel hose that we have leading to the fuel filter is less than adequate for length. So I decided to fit an AN line to it. And when I fit the AN line to it, I accidentally ground down the wrong side of the fuel filter. So I had to do both sides. But either way, this is AN6, which is plenty of fuel for what we're doing. And it goes on just like so. And instead of assuming I'm going to have a grinder, if I ever need another fuel filter, I'm going to do another one of these just like this, cut it down, and I'm going to throw it in the Sunrader to live in the Sunrader, because if you make something custom, you want to have an extra custom part with you. And that's why driving an import diesel is not very practical if you want to, travel and not be stranded for 2 weeks when you need something as simple as a fuel filter. So the last thing I'm doing before I throw this in is putting spark plugs in, and I'm using some pretty nice Iridium NGKs. I went one step cooler. Hopefully this will help everything. I don't know, I'm not an expert, but we will find out if I did the right thing. All right, let's dance, because this thing has never been once kind to me. Going in. So go over there and make sure we don't hit anything over there. I'll be over here. So we're gonna pull that wiring harness up. Stop. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't do it on purpose, but your butt is so in the shot.
Oh, no, there's no holes in these.
I'm hitting brake lines. Okay, so as we got this in here, I remembered what is always the bane of my existence is I have an engine leveler, but it's not a proper engine leveler, so I can never get the 3RZs to that like 8-degree slant. We got it there with a couple ratchet straps. We have the thing in, bell housing bolts are in, it's here. So now finish putting the bell housing bolts in, finish putting all the accessories on, power steering pump, pulley, all the bracketry to support the nose cone of this thing so it doesn't break off. And anyway, we're just gonna wrap this thing up, get this thing all connected, oil in it, fuel. I have to build that one AN fuel line, super easy. And after that, this thing will be a rip-in, and we'll take it for a test drive, make sure everything is A-okay. And if we have the time, I want to tear into that motor and see what failed. But for now, let's get this thing running, let's get this finished, and let's get this truck ready for us to go on some more adventures. I almost got ahead of myself and put this belt back on with that small pulley still on there. Now, I don't know why it died, but I do know when you run a small pulley this small, you really should have extra fuel. I don't even have pink top injectors. We're still on the brown, so the fuel is abysmal for this poor thing. So I'm going to go get the bigger pulley. 1, 2, 3 pulleys. So it's like, which level up, around, and find out do you want to go? Because this is like where we're gonna go. This is a 70 millimeter, quite a bit larger than that one, right? And we also have, not only do we have this 58 millimeter, we have a 55 millimeter. This one is quite a bit smaller, and as you can imagine, this one, all the boost. So this will be cool one day when I have proper fuel management, but until then, we're going to put these away and get the sissy low boost 5, 6, maybe 7 pounds installed, because yeah, I don't want to do this again. So straight away we start getting ready to pull this red small pulley off this blower, and it gives us a little bit of a hard time. We have to get the puller out, we have to smack it with a dead blow, brass hammer, but we finally get it off and we get the pulley replaced. Then we get the wiring back on the engine, start getting the cooling system back together, ignition coils, all that stuff, the air intake, and once it's finally ready, we put some oil in it and start to vacuum bleed the system. You tired?
I'm tired, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Toolbox is a wreck.
It is a wreck. I'm trying my hardest.
You're the best. Alright, well, after a very long but short 2 days, everything's done. A lot of maintenance that I didn't know I needed was done. Of course, nothing ever goes exactly as planned, but this went relatively smoothly. The last thing we have to do is put the battery and give it connection, and start it up and see if it runs. We have oil, we have coolant, vacuum bled system. Everything is as it should. So we even got a new fuel line. That was part of the holdup. There's a lot of things that I did not know needed done that we got done. But we're gonna go ahead, give it power, start this thing up, see how it sounds. Watch it just be rod knocked. Rod knocked.
Don't say that.
All right. Let it idle up. Let it build some oil pressure.
Why is it so quiet?
Is this one quiet?
So quiet.
It might be a quieter engine.
Is it screaming at you in the cab?
No, it's pretty quiet. Woo! Dang, that thing does sound good. No big oil leaks. No fuel leaks. Dang. Also, that wobbly pulley was just me being stupid, not knowing how to put a pulley on. It's fixed. Well, it runs, and that's super dope. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll go on a test drive. I'm probably gonna go on a test drive tonight. All right, guys, it's the next day. Got the Sunrader done last night, and I started it up, took it for a quick test drive just to make sure everything was good. The engine runs good, but I'll let you guys hear it. I replaced fuel pump thinking it was lean knock. I've done a lot, but likely it's not any of that, and it's the blower. So let's go ahead and take it for a quick drive. My steering wheel is so crooked. It won't even get high enough. And also it says we're pushing like 10 pounds of boost, which I don't know if that's right. I don't know how. I put the smaller pulley on it. We were only ever pushing a few pounds. So, big bummer. And I switched everything over from the other engine. So it's, I mean, like, there's nothing from the other engine on this. What are you gonna do? We're gonna pull the intake off, get the supercharger off this, and go back to NA and get this trip done. And I think it's gonna get a turbo after this. Superchargers are very expensive to rebuild, and I don't feel like rebuilding it. We'll see. So let's go ahead and get this thing back to NA. So if you're savvy with cars, specifically boosted cars, you may already know what's going on here. That sound that we were hearing in the cab is pre-detonation, and basically what's happening is the fuel is firing too early in the stroke of the piston, and it's causing a knock, a lean knock. And yeah, it's not very good. So we get the stock intake back on, and at this point I'm just in denial that it's, you know, the motor that's hurt again. Anyway, we get this back on and we get it back together, and we're about to find out the hard way that it's not what we suspected. Good. Alright, normal intake's back on. Things gonna do its thing? I think so. It's gonna be great, right?
Yep.
Straight thread line. What is it?
I think it backfired through the intake.
Something's still wrong?
Yes, it does.
And this engine is blown up. So I overboosted it. That's the issue that's been happening, is overboost. So it blew the first one, the wastegate failed, and it blew this one, I think. Supercharged is not the issue. This engine has an awful noise, and it's Monday, 4 o'clock, worked all day, thought about it all day. Really don't want to stay with my family for Thanksgiving. I just want my own home on wheels. So before I go home tonight, this will get one more engine. It's not going to get all the seals. It's not going to get all the love. It's just going to get done. Not going to get it right, just going to get it running. Once it's running, we'll dial it in. But let's go ahead and pull this thing in. I'm not going to film a single thing, but I'll show you when it's all fixed and I'm all stoked. Yeehaw! Alright, so obviously I did end up at least time-lapsing it. It's pretty discouraging to rip apart something that you just put back together. Yeah, it always sucks, because I put stuff together thinking I'm not going to take it apart for a while. So, you know, Loctite's used and everything's good and tight and everything's complete and finished. So we're just busy taking everything that we just did right back apart, and we will soon enough have the final, hopefully final, motor in this truck that it gets for a while. What a plot twist at the very end that this ends up being all caused by a blown up muffler. And by blown up muffler, I'm pretty sure a backfire that happened midway through this trip broke the innards of the muffler, and it all is at the tailpipe, and now it's not allowing airflow to go through. So I was seeing 20 pounds of pressure because there was supercharger pushing and it wasn't being able to go anywhere. So it wasn't able to go through the whole engine. And that's why it saw 20 pounds of boost. It was really just back pressure. And that's why the second motor did end up blowing out a whole bunch of seals, is because it saw a ton of back pressure. I'm surprised the first motor didn't do the same thing. I don't know if either of those motors are actually bad. I'm going to guess the second one is not bad other than the head gasket that got blown out. And the first one is probably not the happiest because I think it was detonation. But anyway, I got a new muffler. That one's toast. We'll cut that one open later. And right now, we're just going to go ahead, get this thing ready for a trip. Get it, at least, you know, back half back on it so it's not straight piped. And then this thing is finally road ready again. And man, it feels good to say that because, I don't know, hindsight's 20/20. I should have assessed further into the first problem maybe. But it sounded like a blown engine. So what was I going to do? Right now, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this exhaust welded up by bunch of pre-bent pipe upstairs. I'm just going to get this muffler, a couple hangers, and some pre-bent pipe and make it sound quiet, get the exhaust out from under it, and go eat some turkey. Alright, so I just finished up putting this new muffler on. Did a little bit of pipe, did not get it all the way out. We'll worry about that later. This will get us to and from where we're going this weekend. And I haven't heard how it sounds yet, so I'm going to go ahead and fire it up. Overall, I think the truck sounds pretty good. Has a lot of area for improvement, but it's just a 4-cylinder. It's going to sound kind of ricey. I should get a proper exhaust or at least a proper muffler on there, not just some crappy cheap one, but it'll do the trick. But all that being said, we have a ton to show you about what's been going on. So yes, that's the same Sunrader, and we have a ton of stuff to catch you up on. So this is me from the future saying, if you want to see what's going on here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I really hope to see you later.